Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all now up and settled down. We are going to start with our natural science for term 1. And the chapter that we are going to start with is life and living. Okay, so life and living is divided into 3 units. The first unit, unit number 1, will cover photosynthesis and respiration. Unit number 2 will cover interactions and interdependencies. And unit number 3 will cover microorganism. So the first unit that we are going to start with is photosynthesis and respiration. Please pay attention. You need to be in your full attention to understand this because it's lots and lots of theory. Okay, so our first unit is photosynthesis and respiration. And photosynthesis and respiration unit 1 is going to be divided again in smaller subunits. So we are going to start with the introduction and we are going to go straight to photosynthesis. Okay, and that will take us to 1.21, 1.22, 1.23. Okay, let's go for it. Let's get our introduction. They say all living organisms require energy to survive. The interactions and interdependence between organisms in ecosystem are driven by the need of energy. So for survival, we need energy. This is why photosynthesis and respiration both play such a big role in survival of most organisms. So for most organisms, we need 2 things for survival. We need respiration and we need photosynthesis. It is the 2 most important processes conducted by living organisms to obtain and use. Okay, let's start and read this line again. It is the 2 most important processes conducted by living organisms to obtain usable energy. For us, or for all living organisms to obtain usable energy, we need both respiration and photosynthesis. The sun is one of the most important sources of energy and supplies energy in the form of light and heat. Please don't forget this. The sun supplies the energy in the form of light and heat. Most plants photosynthesize, while animals must satisfy their energy needs by the process of respiration. Now let's start by photosynthesis. I hope you can still remember this from the previous grades. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants and some microorganisms produce food. Is known as photosynthesis. Okay, let's define photosynthesis again. It is the process by which green plants and some microorganism, which is your bacteria and fungi, they produce food, and this is known as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis again is the process by which green plants produce food. And they break down the word photosynthesis into photo, which means light, and synthesis, which means to make. Now they give us the full definition. Photosynthesis is the process whereby plants use carbon dioxide, water, and light energy in a series of chemical reactions to produce food and oxygen. And they say food in bracket is glucose, which is the starch. Okay, let's start again slow. Photosynthesis is the process whereby plants use what? Carbon dioxide, water, and light energy. Remember, light energy is from the sun in a series of chemical reactions to produce food. This is the definition I am explaining. If I have to ask you to define photosynthesis, or you are asked in a test or class exercise or homework, this is the definition you need to know. Photosynthesis is the process whereby plants use carbon dioxide, water, and light energy in a series of chemical reactions to produce food and oxygen. There are two things to be produced. It's food and oxygen. Remember. Okay. Now they say that reptiles and other animals can lie in the sun and bake. They warm up from heat energy. However, they cannot convert this heat energy into food. Remember, there are two types of energy that comes from the sun. It is the heat energy and the light energy. So the light energy is used by the plants, right? Together with carbon dioxide and water in chemical reactions to produce food and oxygen. But reptiles and other animals, they can lie in the sun and bake, which means they warm up their body from the heat energy that comes from the sun. However, they cannot convert this heat energy into food. This can only be done by plants. Now, what are the requirements for photosynthesis to take place? Let's see. What do plants need to photosynthesize? Okay, which means is to make food from light energy. Okay, these four things are required for photosynthesis to take place. One, it is the light energy, and they say light energy is provided by the sun. Number two, plants need carbon dioxide. Okay, plants obtain carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And plants need, number three, water. Plants obtain water from the ground. And the last one, which is number four, the requirement, plants require chlorophyll. Okay, and this is green plants contain the pigment chlorophyll. This chlorophyll, you find it in the plants, and they say it is the pigment chlorophyll. It is green in plants. Okay, so what are the four requirements for photosynthesis in plants? It's light energy, that is from the sun. It's carbon dioxide, that is from the atmosphere. It's water, that is from the ground. And it's chlorophyll, that is from the green parts of the plants. Okay, they say that light energy is also called radiation energy. Don't forget that. Light energy is sometimes called radiation energy. Okay, and then let's look at interesting facts. They say chlorophyll is green because it absorbs all light from the sun but reflects the green light. Okay, so chlorophyll is very important in plants because it is that thing that absorbs all the light from the sun, and we need this light energy. Okay, but it reflects the green light. Now let's continue. They say that only green plants contain chlorophyll. The pigment makes it possible for plants to absorb the light energy and to convert it into chemical energy. Chlorophyll gives plants their green color. Please remember, if you can be asked what is the function of the chlorophyll, right? The chlorophyll makes it possible for plants to absorb light energy and also convert it into chemical energy. Two things. It absorbs light energy from the sun, and number two, it converts that very same light energy to chemical energy. Okay, and chlorophyll gives gives plants the green color. Guys, please don't forget this. Let us again what say this again. Okay, so chlorophyll, number one, absorbs the light energy from the sun. Number 2, it converts the same light energy to chemical energy. And number 3, it gives the plant the green color. And only green plants contain chlorophyll. Only green plants. If it's not a green plant, it doesn't have chlorophyll. And what do we get from photosynthesis? Remember, we said that photosynthesis is the process whereby plants use carbon dioxide, light, and what? Carbon dioxide. Let's go back and check again. We said it is the process whereby plants use light, carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll to make food and oxygen. Not only food and oxygen. Okay, and sometimes the food, they call it glucose or starch. Okay, now let's look in detail into the product of photosynthesis. What do plants produce as a result of photosynthesis? So if photosynthesis happens, what do we get? Number 1, we get glucose, which is our starch or food. Okay, sometimes they even call it sugar. Okay, so they say number 1, we get glucose. They say glucose is a simplified form of sugar and is produced by plants. And oxygen is the second item that we get from photosynthesis. They say oxygen is produced as a byproduct, and plants release it to the atmosphere. Okay, once food or glucose is formed, then oxygen is released to the atmosphere again, then we can breathe and use it. They say photosynthesis occurs through a series of chemical reactions. There must be a chemical reaction for photosynthesis to take place. And they say the same simplified chemical reaction for photosynthesis is as follows. You need to know this chemical reaction. Okay, let's look. What do we need for photosynthesis? Okay, we need carbon dioxide, we need water. Okay, and that carbon dioxide and water, they combine, and then chlorophyll absorb the light energy and convert it into chemical energy that forms for us glucose and oxygen. I hope you follow this. I hope you follow this. Look at our 4 requirements for photosynthesis: carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll, and light energy. These 4 things, we need them for photosynthesis to take place. If that is not there, we will not have glucose, we will not have oxygen. Okay. Let's start again and look at the chemical reaction. Okay, we have carbon dioxide. We write it as CO2 with a small 2 at the bottom, plus water. Water, we write it as H2O. Okay, if we add these two, and chlorophyll absorb the light energy for us, right? And with that, we can form glucose, which is C6H12O6. These formulas that we see, we call them chemical formulas, and oxygen is O2. And you can see that they are putting on oxygen, they put the state of matter that it is a gas. Okay. They say the diagram below is a simple representation of photosynthesis. You need to know that. The 4 requirements and the 2 products from photosynthesis. Okay. 4 requirements: carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll, light energy. And the 2 products, what we get after photosynthesis has happened: glucose and oxygen. Please know this diagram. Please know this diagram. Now they represent it in terms of what happens to the plant. Now we see a green plant here. See, it is a green plant. So if it's a green plant, it means it contains chlorophyll. Green plant, it means it contains chlorophyll. Now we see in the atmosphere there is carbon dioxide. Okay, now we have carbon dioxide and the plant gets water from the ground. Okay, and also the plant through the roots get nutrients. So the plant gets water and nutrients. Okay, and then there is carbon dioxide in the air that comes to a plant or a leaf of the plant. You see that the roots will absorb this to the leaf, and the leaf will also be exposed to carbon dioxide. And now this leaf contains chlorophyll. Now this chlorophyll in the leaf will absorb light energy. Okay, light energy, and this light energy will be converted into chemical energy. Okay, and then after that we will be able to have glucose, which might be a fruit or a vegetable or whatever glucose type that forms. So it will form here on the leaf, and once it has formed, oxygen will be released to the atmosphere again. That is how photosynthesis takes place. Let's start again. The roots will absorb water and nutrients, and that will come to the leaf. And the leaf will be exposed to carbon dioxide. This blue a arrow represent carbon dioxide. This leaf will be exposed to carbon dioxide, and you look, there's the sun shining, and now the chlorophyll in this leaf will absorb the light energy, and the chlorophyll again will convert that light energy to chemical energy, and the glucose will form, which might be a fruit or a veg. And when that forms, air, oxygen is released to the air again. That is the oxygen that we can breathe again. Okay, hoping you understand the diagram. Okay, so in this notes, they explain exactly the same thing that I've explained with the plant. They say plant absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen through a process known gaseous exchange. Okay, so the absorption of carbon dioxide and release of oxygen is happening through a process known as gaseous exchange. Please note this. Gaseous exchange is when plants absorb carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. Gaseous exchange is the absorption and emission of gases. Absorption is to absorb, emission is to release to the atmosphere. This happens through the stomata, which are found mainly on the leaves of the plant. So gaseous exchange happens in the stomata that is found on the leaves of the plant. So on the leaves of the plant, we have chlorophyll and we have stomata. Chlorophyll is for the conversion of energy from light energy to chemical energy and the formation of starch. Okay, and the stomata is for the gaseous exchange, which means carbon dioxide is absorbed and oxygen is released to the air. They say, however, stomata can also be found on other parts of the plant that are above the ground. Okay, so stomata is not only on the leaves. Okay, we can also find it on the parts of the plant that are above the ground, like stems. Water is absorbed from the ground through the root hairs of the plant. We have seen the plant. Plants use glucose to respire. Okay, let's here they will explain this. The energy that is released during respiration is used for the following life processes, which is propagation, cell division, growth, and other processes. When a glucose is formed, there will be energy that is released, okay, during respiration. and that energy they say is used for other life processes, which is propagation, cell division, growth, and other life processes. We will explain this into details when we get to that section. Okay. Now they say that some glucose is converted into cellulose, which forms cell wall. Cellulose provides support and steadiness to plants. Excess glucose is stored as starch. Stored as starch in plants, serves as food source for other living organism. And they say starch is insoluble in water, okay, which means it cannot be soluble in water, which is why plant stored glucose in this form. Starch is insoluble in water. And they say that green plants are autotrophs. Okay, we need to know what autotrophs means. Autotrophic means that plants have the ability to produce their own food. Please know this term. Autotrophic means that plants have the ability to produce their own food. And they say green plants are autotrophic or are autotrophs. And the little fact there is only green plants contain chlorophyll. We know that by now. The pigment makes it possible for plants to absorb solar energy and convert it into chemical energy. And chlorophyll gives plants their green color. Now let's look at plants without chlorophyll. What happens to those plants that are not green? Because we know that only plants that are green have chlorophyll. Plants do not contain chlorophyll. Plants that do not contain chlorophyll, my apologies, let's start again. Plants that do not contain chlorophyll must use other ways to obtain food. Here we can distinguish between saprophytic plants and parasitic plants. They say we can distinguish between saprophytic plants and parasitic plants. Let's start with saprophytes. Okay, saprophytes are plants that survive on dead organic tissue like sugar stick, Indian pipe, and certain orchids. Okay, so these plants, the saprophytes, they survive on dead organic tissue. Okay, we see these examples of the plants that are saprophytes. And they say green plants are the only organism that convert energy from sun into organic food. This is why plants are known as producers. Okay, the plants, they are producers because they can convert energy from sun into food. And then remember, we were distinguishing between two types of plants that do not have chlorophyll. The first one is the saprophyte. We have already covered that. Okay, they say they use the organic, they say they survive on dead organic tissue. And now let's look at parasites. Parasitic plants live on living organic tissue. The other ones, they live on dead organic tissue. And the parasitic or the parasites plants, they live on organic tissue and obtain all its nutrients from the host. Yeah, this is tough, but we'll learn about that. Later in the term, we will study parasites in more detail. The host is harmed in the relationship. Oh my goodness. Examples of parasitic plants are dodder and mist lettuce. Hey, no, we will see this when we go to the later in the term. We'll get to see these parasitic plants. Okay, but for now they just gave us their names. So we've got two plants that don't contain chlorophyll, which are the saprophytes, and the parasites. Saprophytes, they live on dead organic tissue, and the parasites, they live on living organic tissues. Okay, I think that is enough for today. We will stop there and we will continue with our topic. We have covered photosynthesis and a little bit of respiration. Okay, I hope you understand. If you don't understand, you can go again, listen to the audio, and see that, and make sure that you understand everything. When it comes to the experiments, we will do them accordingly. But for now, we are covered with what we know. Okay, so revise, go study, memorize. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. So if you don't start working now and memorizing now and do the exercises that are in the book, by the time you come to the end of the term, it will be a lot of work for you to do. When we continue next time, we are going to look at page 24 and cover respiration. Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.